Good afternoon. My name is Brian Reif, and I would like to welcome you to today's Activity Strong webinar, Finding Joy in Dementia Care. For today's webinar, we are providing one free NAB, NCCAP, NCCDP, NCTRC, and NZSRTD CEU credits. To be eligible for these CEU credits, you need to remain on the webinar for the full hour. At the end of the webinar, I will be providing the required post-webinar CEU survey evaluation link in the webinar chat room box. You will also be receiving an email this afternoon with this link. Please make sure that you check your junk and spam folder for this link. If you have any questions, please email us at webinars@linksenior.com. The CEU certificates will be issued by email before the end of day on Friday. Again, please make sure that you are checking your junk and spam folder for the CEU certificates. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Brian. Welcome, everyone. Welcome on this Activity Strong Executive Edition, Finding Joy in Dementia Care. Carrie and Nicole, thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited for our conversation. I'll introduce you in a second, but I just want you both to know that I think it's going to be an amazing learning experience, and I can't wait for this interactive session with us. Some of you might have seen a little change in the slides and might know of a big change with a Link Senior, and I'm about to announce it or re-announce it in a few seconds. But just as a detail, because I believe that the conversation today is going to be interactive, if we're using the chat to welcome each other or contribute, make sure that you're selecting everyone as by default, it's on host and panel. So just to make sure that everyone is seeing the contribution. So as some of you might know, we, Link Senior, started Activity Strong as a way to elevate activities and life enrichment and elevate senior living. We do this in partnership with Activity Connection, NAP, and NCAP. And as you might remember, I still am actually the CEO and co-founder of Link Senior. But the exciting announcement is that LifeLoop, an amazing company that Carrie knows a little bit about, because she worked with LifeLoop and IN2L, was so excited to share the fact that LifeLoop acquired Link Senior mid-July. And many questions about it, I'm sure you might have. Please feel free to send them my way or the way to our teams. But essentially, we're joining forces with an amazing organization that I have respected for a long time. And I shared that on LinkedIn the other day, but I'll do it live as well. I don't think any one of us, including me, well, let me put it the other way, I would not be sitting in that chair if Jack York had not started IN2L with Leslie and his brother years ago. And so I am deeply grateful and kind of indebted to him and the team at IN2L for starting what is now one of the hardest category in senior living, which is resident engagement. So in a way, I feel that all of us are indebted to that. And, live, I'll just say that I'm grateful and honored to be actually joining LifeLoop. As a quick factor, I would also share the fact that for our clients, nothing changes. And for you, if it's the first time you're coming to Activity Strong, or if you've come multiple times, just as a heads up, nothing will change. Activity Strong is an amazing thing, and I'm grateful that LifeLoop recognizes that. So with that, onto our program. I think I've shared a little bit about myself. So my position now is General Manager, Link Senior with LifeLoop. For background, Link Senior, now part of LifeLoop, has this really value-driven approach to senior living. One of them is I just discussed, which is Activity Strong. The other one is Old People Are Cool. We have these stickers, and it's just, I don't know if you can see it with my blurring imaging, but it's just celebrating age and saying that everyone is cool, including older adults. Link Senior, which is now part of LifeLoop, is a resident engagement company focusing on helping activity and life enrichment professionals do what they love, which is to bring purpose to their residents every day. And it's done using a combination of technology, of best practices, and helping every organization make sure they deliver on their promise of person-centered, person-directed care. Our work is evidence-based, and if you have any questions about it, please feel free to contact us. So just as a quick reminder, we have listed the learning objectives. What we're going to be talking about is one of the things that I cherish the most in life beyond just senior living, and is joy. And the way I think about joy, especially in dementia care, is, and one of the reasons I was really excited about today's topic is that when we say dementia, sometimes we forget that the person living with dementia is a human being like any one of us. So why should access to joy be different if I have dementia or not? And this is one of the reasons I was so excited about our conversation today, is that our path to joy should be the same whether I have dementia or not. And that's kind of the ultimate goal. And I think that if we focus on that, we also help our industry, because our industry, unfortunately, is very needs driven. And what's going to change that is, if it's to make it want driven, is when we focus on joy, on the experience, and ultimately what makes us humans. And so I am beyond excited, because I could not think of two better professionals to talk about the topic, which is near and dear to them personally, but also in their professional career. And so Carrie Alberts is the founder of Dementia Darling. Nicole Will is the founder of Will Gather. I would say it's an amazing podcast. I've been following it for years now. And also the co-founder of Think Tanks. So Carrie, Nicole, thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing us joy. I'm excited for the conversation.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yes, thank you for having us and bringing us together. I like to unfortunately talk over Nicole too much. If you listen to our podcast, you know that. So yes, Nicole, you want to introduce who you are?
Yes. So grateful that everyone is here today. And Linked Senior, has been a big part of my life. I've gotten so many CEUs, and I'm so grateful, and just the resource and my relationship with Charles, value it so much. I am co-founder Will Gather, co-founder of Think Tank. And Will Gather is a platform, and within that we have the podcast, Navigating the World with Your Aging Loved One. We have a gift shop for caregivers named after my grandma, Gigi Betty Coe, who we were family caregivers for. She moved into our family home when I was 15, and that's what took me on this journey of studying gerontology, working in senior living as a director. I'm actually currently certified by NCAP as an ADC. So this profession is very close to my heart. Think Tank is bringing together thought leaders and change makers within senior living and aging services. We develop leadership, we deepen relationships, we create goodwill deliverables to the world for the greater good. So I know, in the information shared, you'll be able to learn more about that if that's of interest to you. So yeah, thank you for having me. Carrie, take it away.
Well, and there's more things you do. You're just incredible. So I'm excited to be here with you, and more excited that I get to call you one of my besties. So I am Carrie Alberts, aka Dementia Darling. And my journey started too with a grandmother who unfortunately passed away with dementia. And my dad was her main family caregiver. Really stuck with me. I was able to study both my bachelor and master's degrees focused in gerontology, the study of aging. And through that time in college, I was in intergenerational adult daycare settings. And then moved into memory care, and I was always activities and all the fun stuff, and went on to be a director of an adult daycare center, got super burnt out, as a lot of us can relate to. And I went to work at IN2L because I knew that they had helped me so much as an activity professional in the past, and I wanted to be a part of that, and it changed my life. And I have been in kind of the age tech part of things since, and I'm very passionate about that. Nicole and I are both in the AARP Age Tech Collaborative, and it is just such an honor to see all the incredible things that are coming about specifically for dementia. and for our people that deserve these things made for them and catered to them. So exciting things coming. Dementia Darling is a place that is a safe place for caregivers, professional, family, all the caregivers, but I focus on dementia education, and I want to be that virtual hug and support and cheerleader for all caregivers. So lots of crazy fun stuff happening. Nicole and I have a show together called Gather Darlings, our podcast where we talk and get real. And I'm super passionate about fighting the tragedy narrative in dementia care.
Yeah.
I don't know about you,
Joy.
Nicole, right?
I need the joy. I know. And we thought today it would be so fun to have not a podcast, but like the style of sharing, asking questions, how we dialogue. I think that's how we learn. So we're really excited about that today. And we talk about joy all the time. And so what better way to be able to do this with all of you? I can't wait.
Yes, yes. Any chance that I can scream out from the rooftops, let's fight this tragedy narrative. Let's show that there's joy. Joy is possible. I'd like to say one thing before we dive in, because, you know, some of us, I think because we're in this world, right? We're in it. We see the joy. We can see it on a daily basis, and we get to enjoy these things. But unfortunately, in society, that isn't the thing, you know, that isn't what people see. And just recently I saw in a news article, and so we know Bruce Willis is living with FTD, and someone wrote in a news article, they literally wrote, Bruce Willis is unable to experience joy. Well, that's a large assumption.
Right.
So we need to change that. People think that do people think that dementia takes away our ability for joy? No, that is further from the truth. Joy is possible. A dementia diagnosis does not mean joy is over, life is over, that's it, pack your things, you're done. No. And we need to remember this and keep this message in how we are speaking with families and how we are speaking with people living with dementia. Joy is possible. So I just have to say that to start.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, exactly. And I think it's so important that we continue to use our voice in whatever role we have to be those advocates and educators of that reminder that there's joy and it's possible, you know? So
yes, I just
so
broke my heart that that's even a thought. And I'm
yeah.
like, I know we're lacking education about dementia, but no, can't go
Right.
there, right? And someone just
Right.
said, yes, people experience all the emotions, right? And
Mhm.
we grieve, we have bad days, and we can't take that away from people. We can't shelter people from the human experience, even just because dementia is there.
Right.
They're still going to have those experiences. So before we go forward, I just wanted to say that please, I want everyone to be a part of this conversation. I know we have a lot of people, which is awesome, but put in the Q&A, any questions specifically. We're going to try our best to get through as much as we can through the conversation. And at the end, put in the chat any of your insights, your ideas, anything you'd like to share. You are experts. You are on the floor. We want to hear from you. We're all learning from each other. So I just want to put that out there. And we're just so excited to be here and chat with you today. And we're going to just jump right in about joy and understanding. So Nicole, why do you think it's essential that we focus on joy and connection and person-centeredness instead of just like thinking about the managing of symptoms in dementia care?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's essential because it honors the whole person, right? Not just the symptoms. And while managing symptoms is important, it only addresses part of that experience for people living with dementia. So when we prioritize joy and connection, and we acknowledge that individuals are more than a diagnosis and deserve moments of happiness and fulfillment like all humans in the world, it's so vital to not lose that. And when we can foster that, right? So joy and connection foster a sense of belonging and dignity, which is this like human fundamental need. And we help create those environments where people can feel seen and valued for who they are. It is not just what they can or cannot do. And so when we have that lens, it significantly enhances their quality of life, right? Providing us and them with opportunities to engage meaningfully with the world around them. So the impact is profound when we incorporate that, right? Not only on our like emotional well-being, not just for people living with dementia, but when we think of the greater picture of that, it's for their loved ones, it's for families, for those that work with our older adults, right? When we build connection, when we create a support network that can alleviate that isolation, that stress, it benefits everyone involved, and it empowers us by reminding us that we're really vital in these moments of creating joy and love. So I think it aligns with our deep need, right? And our values of empathy, compassion. It encourages us with that lens of joy, right? To lead with our hearts, to listen, to understand, to create spaces where everyone thrives. And when we have this approach, even in challenges that we face, because there will be challenges, we can find that meaning and joy. So to your point, it actually really does come back to person-centered care. And I know that's a term we use, we've heard, it's so different from everyone. And I love how when we had this really great insight. We were on a webinar panel with Viking Pure Solutions, and Adria Thompson with Be Light Care talked about, you know, what helps us understand that term and what's the difference between person-centered care and other approaches. Well, when you think of it, it could be then described, right, the other approaches as deficit-centered care, diagnosis-centered care. It's not just in dementia care, right? It's in all of the medical community. So if we're focusing on, let's say, diabetes rather than the person living with diabetes, or cancer rather than the person living with cancer. And I think it's helpful when we have that lens, you know, she talks about like delineating those definitions, because then we can clearly understand, right, if I'm not focusing on person-centered care, then what am I actually focusing on? And I think it's a really, really excellent way to like challenge our thinking in that, right? And Adria Hughes, so it's Andrea Crystal, sorry, Andrea Crystal. She cares for her mom living with dementia, and she talks about working with professionals that have that lens that's not person-centered care. And she said, you know, it's so interesting how you, as your loved one, that you feel that when you have that person-centered care, your person is still being validated and that they have a place in this world, because it would be easy to focus on, right, coping and the doom and gloom. But if we are the vessels of that positivity and that joy, right? I'm going to challenge everyone on this call, because while we're talking about joy in dementia care, I think it's really important that for us to be able to do that, we have to cultivate joy for ourselves. So my thought is that before we can be vessels of joy for others, we must find joy within ourselves. I know that's hard sometimes. I know. And it just involves, you know, like being honest about like our own needs, practicing that self-care, engaging in things that bring us joy. I think when we nurture our own joy, we become more capable of spreading it to others. Any thoughts on that before I keep going on the joy?
I'm just so grateful I have two thoughts. So first off, so everything you were saying, I'm like, okay, if you're a Montessori professional, you are in your house, like, yes, preach, girl, because you know, I'm a CDP, and then also the Montessori one as well, and certification. Sorry, I'm not saying this correctly, but I love Montessori dementia care. It's all about that dignity, autonomy, failure-free, right? Setting people up for success and creating moments of joy, setting themselves up to have joy and accomplishment and all the things we deserve to have in life, right? Like you were saying. And I want to also put down that I'm sure we've all seen this. I saw it when, we were short staffed, so we didn't take the time to walk with people. We put them in wheelchairs and we literally took their ability to walk away from them faster because of it. And it's the same thing when we're not able to provide them with that person-centered approach, when we're not able to give them those opportunities to engage with their life, we're taking away that from them and we're speeding up the process of the decline of dementia. And when we are involved in our life, when we're social, when we feel, that we are actually able to connect with our life and with what's happening, it's a game changer. And I know people are saying in the chat, and I get it. We both have been there and we know that it's really tough. There's so much red tape. There's so much, up against the staff that I saw it. You don't have time to be personal. You don't have time to get to know. You don't have time to sit there and let people, have to give them time enough to respond. It's heartbreaking because that's what they deserve. And I think we all as staff know that's what we want to give them, but we're up against these constraints, unfortunately. So I'm not up here trying to like shake a finger at anyone saying like, you're not doing it, because I know you're doing your best. So we have to figure out how are we going to find moments of time that we can plug in and do these as much as possible. We'll talk more about it. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll go on a whole thing.
No,
But
I love it.
I do love what you're saying about joy within ourselves. It's so important. And that just leads me to mental health within ourselves. I never felt I got support in my mental health when I was doing that work and being with people on hospice and watching people I am obsessed with pass away and decline. And it's so important to talk about our mental health and to touch on that before crisis, before we're hitting that burnout time. We need to have those safe spaces. And if we're on top of that, we can get and, have the time to find our joy, right? Because we're not going to have time for joy if we're burnt out. That's not even on your radar then. So just being very aware of our own capacity. And I know it's so hard and it's hard to get help. So I just want to validate that. But yeah, we have to take care of ourselves.
And so that's a big question, is like, how do we do that for ourselves, right? With the limitations that we might have. And I go back to, I always say, even like with family caregiving, I think it teaches us so much about ourselves, right? Within it. And it's like that quote, it's like, you're most like the 5 people you surround yourself with, or something to that effect. And I think it's so important, like personally and professionally, because I do think our personal lives obviously affect, right, our professional lives. It kind of lives together. And the people we surround ourselves with, or the influence we absorb, really shape our perspective. And if we're always surrounded by negativity, it becomes our lens. And so it affects how we, care for people and what our mindset is. And so I think choosing, right, maybe making more of like a concerted effort to like choose to be around people that uplift you and inspire you, choose to follow people on social media that like Carrie.
That's my thing. And across the board, like, don't hate on me. I don't follow any Kardashians because they don't make me feel good about myself. I don't follow anyone that doesn't make me feel good about life.
Yes, I
So
know.
please do that for yourself.
Right. Have people that encourage your growth or speak light into your life, and that where you can share your hard challenges, and that they're supportive, right? And reinforce that lens of like what your purpose is, like the information you consume, the podcasts you listen to, practicing gratitude. Like I started just waking up every day and being like, and some really hard days, it was literally like, I'm thankful that the sky is blue. I'm thankful that I can walk, like even the simplest things, but science tells us that can start to change, right, our view on the world and our lens on the world. And I think that joy is also a source of resilience. And so I know when days are hard, it helps us navigate it with like strength and compassion for us to be able to show up. And Carrie, I love how you also talk about we are really mindful to that term, toxic positivity, right? So we
There's a
know there's a fine line because we know that that is, life is hard. Carrie and I are always like, being a human is hard.
Yeah, we have to
It's so hard.
validate, right? We have to validate each other and then help change mindsets a little bit, because that is really the game changer, right? When we look at things, when we look through the gratefulness perspective of things and what is there, and same with dementia, what is still present? What is still there to enjoy about life, not what has been lost? And that's just so important in our work. And then, like you said, I love, making sure that we are incorporating things that we love into our lives and focusing on that. But I think, I would always, when I had a really hard time at work, I would remind myself, your job is to literally make sure people have joy. That's your job, is to engage people in their lives. When I was a life enrichment director, I was like, what a lucky thing. So I had to like center myself. What was my purpose? Why was I there? And that brought me joy personally.
Right. Yeah. And joy, I know time is limited and there's regulations and we do have a lot going on, but, or I should say, and not but, and we also can have a smile on our face. We can have warmth in our tone. Those things don't take time. They take our intentionality, so and I know life is hard, but I think where joy begins. And then from there, that ripple effect.
Yeah, that smile can,
right.
put someone else, and that smile goes to someone else.
Yeah.
And I think, like we're saying, people are saying in the chat, we are the source of joy too for the residents. And someone else said, and I'm going to talk about this later, but our energy, what we bring to them is what they're going to take on, right?
Yeah.
So people living with dementia are solely relying on their sensory intake, right? That's how they're navigating an unknown world now, is by all their senses. They're not able to have context, from previous things. They are truly just taking it in. So when we come at them upset, stressed, they're going to soak that in and be like, that's what I'm supposed to do. And so, but I also want to state, I have been too toxic positive, and I've gone up to my residents and I'm like, we're doing this. And I've had a lady go, I don't care, get away from me, like back the same way. And I laughed so hard. I was like, fair, touche. That was too much. I would not follow me either.
What a real moment. Oh, that's a real moment. Yeah.
Your people, how they react. Some people will be excited when you come, and you're, upbeat, and others will be like, oh my God, shut her up. So you also know those, or is that just me? I don't know.
Well, and I think it's right. Also balancing, we have to talk about this and encourage everyone, right? And we want that to be like, this is your pep talk. And we want to be practical and give resource and tools. So part of what we're talking about today is like, how can we create these moments of joy, and how do we do that through simple tools or low cost life stations? I know we wanted to touch on that. And I think that it's important. We got to be practical, right? We got to have things that we can put in place to help support our journey of joy.
Yes. And I love this. Lynn just said joy is deeper and broader than positivity. Amen. And I love how you said that. You just blew my mind. Thank you. And I agree. And yes, so when we can show up, with the positivity and that, at least that hopeful nature, hopefully that could incite joy, right? Our positivity doesn't just say, yes, that person is going to just be joyful because I came at them like that. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. And then yes, that they truly mirror the way you feel. Absolutely. Being aware of that. Someone said they need my vitamins. I wish I knew. It's all the iced coffee I drink before these things. And then I just want to touch on this question before I go to what we're talking about,
Yeah.
about the low cost things, but it said, how do we
Yeah.
change that negativity that drains so many of us? I
Mm.
always light up a room with big smiles, hugs, high fives, sing a tune, Christmas in July, random silly songs, etc. You're my kind of girl, by the way. That's so me. And then staff, pretty much soon people's bad attitude starts to deplete, but I'm curious how to fight that drain when we have those bad days.
Mhm.
I can relate with that so much because it becomes like your sole job to make sure everyone's happy because they're like, oh, Carrie's going to be the sunshine walking in. She'll take care of it. She'll change the mood.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure, especially when you're
Yeah.
having a hard time. And I suffer with mental health struggles myself. So those days were really hard for me. And
Mhm.
I had to lean on other people. Those days were really when I kind of leaned on my residents to fill me, to be honest. And I, not in a selfish way, but we are a family, you're a family. And they would lift me up on those days when I said, I'm really, really feeling it. I'm tired. I don't know how I'm going to get through today. And my residents would get me through it. So I would say, from my perspective, they're there to support you too. They're your friends. Lean on your friends, and your residents can support you. I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing too. But what do you have anything to say to that, Nicole?
Yeah. I think it goes for me, it is like my network of people in my life, I'm really mindful of, right? Those voices in my, not in my head, but like that come into my mind in terms of like friendship and the encouragement. And I think that I've had to be really clear on even things I share people to. If I know that I'm going to share something with a friend or a family member and they don't have the ability or the capacity to listen to me or share something encouraging and supportive back to me, then I'm like, well, you're not my person, and I'll call Carrie or whatever. And so I think, going back to like really thinking about uh who in your life can do that for you. And even for me,
Yeah.
it's like I am such a podcast person, and Lewis Howe and Mel Robbins and Jay Shetty, like those are the people that I'm pulling inspiration and joy and gratitude from about what I'm learning about. And I know that that's in a personal way, but it always translates to then my work, because
Yep.
my lens starts to shift, and it's like those simple rituals in your own life that bring yourself joy. For me, it's like I live for my coffee in the morning. I love to go walk outside. I
Nice.
love to spend time with my kids. Like, am I doing things that are going to fill me up so that I have the energy to then have the output for others? And I know easier said than done.
Yes.
Easier.
And
And it's a practice. And really quick, I was talking, maybe it was a podcast, and they were talking about mental health. And this doctor had a shift and said, we always talk about mental health like you're mentally healthy or you're not. But their point of view was it's mental fitness.
yeah,
Just like our
love
physical
that.
fitness, we don't do like one workout and we're like, everything's better and physically fit. It's like a daily practice we have to do our whole lives, right? And so same with mental fitness. It's like it is a daily practice of working through those things that we all struggle with. And so give yourself grace.
Yes.
We're doing the best that we can. And yeah.
And again, give yourself grace because we're in very difficult work. We're not going and like, I know we all know this, like, we're not
Right.
going and selling, iPhones. Like, we're going and it's life or death sometimes, like a lot of the time, right? These are
Yeah.
people's lives. So that's a heavy job. So please, yes, again, pour into yourself. We know that's easier said than done. I love it. Nicole and I know we both work on asking when we're faced with someone having a hard time, we say, do you want to be hugged, helped, or heard?
Yeah.
And that has helped me a lot. And my family knows I usually just want to be heard. I don't want your like advice at the moment. I just want to vent and feel like it's just me in this world, And so that's okay. So, and we can do that with our residents too. Hugged, helped, or heard. Our family members. Do you want to be hugged, helped, or heard right now? That's what we can do for other people. And someone said it's a two-way street. It absolutely is the way that we bring ourselves. And I know it is really hard to keep everything at home when we're going to their work and all the things. It's hard. It's hard. But again, you're human and it's okay to be human. It's okay. But I hope that it invites people to feel comfortable. I look forward to a day when, you know, the team feels comfortable talking about mental health more and asking for help, maybe putting an affirmation in the, you know, in the break room every day or something. But yeah, it's
Well,
just
and
a lot.
the awareness of like you're not alone. And I think when we start to talk and share about it, you really realize how we're all having some maybe similar challenges or frustrations. It's kind of that whole thing of like, you know, what's in the dark, right? It
Yeah.
needs to come out into the light so that we can start to move forward and have some acknowledgement around it. So yeah, to your point, I love that we're having the conversation, right? We're starting that conversation.
Yes, and I know it's hard because I'm just like an open book. So I'm like, yeah, let's talk about my depression to everyone I meet. So I know not everyone's like that. But I just encourage you to find a safe space and to be upfront about what your needs are, because this is a really heavy place to be. And we all know burnout can happen fast, and burnout's not fun for anyone. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what kind of programs or supports or third party counselors can be brought in, you know, and things like that for us.
Right.
But okay, I know
All
I'm
right.
gonna.
Should I re-ask the question?
Yes, let's set it up again.
So we know what we're talking about. Okay. Right. We want to be practical. So how do we create these like simple, low cost life
Yes.
stations that bring joy, right? Or what are those tools we can implement that can support us in bringing our joy?
I think like, okay, anyone
Yeah.
saying if you don't know what a life station is, or if you, or please put in the chat if you have one and what you do have. Oh, puppy visits, love that. Thank you, Jacqueline, whoever said that. So these life stations that we see are kind of like set up areas to invoke engagement, okay, with things that are familiar. We want to make sure we're bringing people familiarity, or it's not really going to work, right? And I'm seeing all the amazing ideas and or what you have, and I want to just shout out, Beverly said bus stop, and that is one of my favorites. And I don't know if it's seen as a station, but I think it is. We all know people that say, I want to go home. I want to go home. Where's my home? When am I going home? Where's the bus? The best thing I've seen is making a bus stop and saying, let's go chill at the bus stop. Let's wait for the bus. Because as we know in dementia care, I hope we know, we enter their world. We don't say, this is your home. You are home. We don't fight with them. We don't tell them there's no bus. We don't say those things. We enter their world. They might be in a time in their life where they need to come home from work and make dinner for their children. Who's going to make dinner for their children? How distressing would that be? Or they might think they're in a place where they were in high school, and if they miss the bus home, their parents think they ran away, or you know, something dangerous is happening. They're worried. So being able to set them up with a bus stop, a place where they can feel like, okay, I'm getting what I need out of this. And then usually we see by the time, you know, it's been a bit, we kind of forget about that need, and it maybe be time for dinner or time for another thing, and they're able to walk off or say, or you can come up and say, oh, the bus is broken. It broke down the street. We're gonna have to wait till tomorrow's. You know, there's ways to meet them where they're at, so we don't shame or make people feel like they're wrong, because you're never gonna win a reasoning match in dementia care. Just putting that out there. Save yourself time and energy. I've fought with people, not, you know what I mean? Like I've like literally argued about things that don't matter. Like it doesn't matter. If it makes them happy, that's all that matters. It's not about me. I love it. Some people said a Joy for All station and or a pet station. I use Joy for All Pets. I'm sure we all know of the Joy for All Pets. Here's my kitty. There's the birds and the dogs. I love setting up an area where they can pet and you know, put the clothes on the dogs and hear the purring and, you know, adopt them as needed. You can even have certificates, you know, whatever you'd like to do, that can be beautiful. Baby doll stations, of course. I like putting out baby doll clothes because people love folding the clothes and just looking through them and touching and reminiscing and all the things. And you can even say, oh, these baby clothes, we have to fold them because someone on the staff is going to have a baby. We're getting them ready for them, and make it purposeful. But there's so many ways, but I really do encourage you to make these stations not based on what we assume, you know, oh, we have women, they're going to like this, or we have men, they're going to like that. We want to make sure we are getting to know them as much as possible, maybe even utilizing things that are donated from their families, or that, you can ask, what is something that, was in his office or his, game room that we could, translate for a corner for men, or, could we get all the men's ties somewhere and we could work on ties and have kind of like a area where they can get dressed up. But making sure we're doing things that are actually applicable to our residents. And we're adapting, right? We're not going to just have the same thing all the time and blanket it. We want to adapt it and change it and meet them where they are and put things that are applicable to them and things that they can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes back to that personalization, right?
Yeah.
I
And then
love
someone's
getting their families involved.
exactly, get the families involved, see what they can do. They're getting rid of a lot of stuff, I can tell you that. They're trying to clean out probably mom and dad's house. They would love to help. But I also, like someone just said, oh, I lost it. There's so many good comments. People that are in skilled nursing and can't like leave their room. We can make kind of busy boxes, which is another thing we were going to talk about too, which, you can make specific things that are personable to them. I used to love, when I would find out someone like the beach, I would put sand for them to touch and sunscreen to smell, and then, different seashells and, anything that you can find. So you can create these boxes that can be brought to them, and then the families can also take them from the front desk, let's say, but you can make specific ones with different items from that person's life. So you can make them, maybe once they move in, you could talk to the family. Can you give me a little things that are important to your person? We might put them in their memory box, but things that are not so fragile, you could put them in a box that they can touch regularly and see and actually, be interacting with and talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another one. Yeah.
And it is like we sometimes have to be detectives, right? In terms of discovering, right? The people that we're working with, and in those conversations with family, and being creative, and right, every day can change what might work one day. It's might possibly not going to work the other day. So how do we continue to like incorporate the creativity into daily routines?
Yeah, I mean,
that joy.
You have to be really intentional, right? And I know, again, we don't have all the time in the world. So we're going to lean on all the information we can get from families, if that is, able, and we're going to try to personalize. I always say the person is more important than the task, no matter what we're doing. And then on top of that, the task is more important than the main activity, right? So to go even deeper in that. So like we are meeting that person, and even if we don't get through the full task or it's not done perfectly, we want to meet them where they are and let them have as much of the control as possible. We want to see what can bring them joy. And something I want to say to that is joy changes, right? In life. I don't enjoy the same things I did when I was 6 or even 21 or even a couple years ago. Things change. Like you said earlier, the simple joys. I cry at least 3 times a week at sunsets. It's just something I do. So, there's simple joys, and to make sure we're seeing what is a joy for this person that I can bring. It can be as simple as that cup of coffee. It can be as simple as sitting there holding their hand and taking that extra couple minutes to say, you look beautiful this morning. You just, oh my gosh, what should we wear today? Here's 2 options. That can bring joy. Taking the time, but I always like to say, please do not let your biases, and if you can help it with family biases, take away someone else's joy. And what I mean by that is I see a lot of people that, I talk with families and they're like, oh, I won't give my mom a baby doll. I won't. I would never do that. That's childish. Why would I give her a Joy for All pet? That's fake. If it brings them joy and gives them some sort of comfort, that's all that matters. It might look weird to us. Yes, I validate that. But again, it's not about us or what we think. And if a baby doll can bring someone joy, if a Joy for All pet can bring someone joy, if painting and they've never painted before and you're like, that's weird, let them go for it. Let them try. Things change. We adapt. And we also find out things about our loved ones or our residents we never knew, because we're allowing them that space.
Right.
So
And maybe
it's
about
important.
ourselves.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, using all of the senses, it's
All the
so
senses.
important. All the senses, right? Breaking through
We have to.
that apathy.
Is that
And yeah, one of my favorite memories is I was working with a family that had a loved one in a memory care and they lived long distance. And so they wanted the support locally. And I was able to spend a lot of time with her every week. And one of the ways that we were able to spend time is having that, physical activity. We would go for walks, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we didn't just walk. I would put on my Spotify playlist and I knew some of her favorite music, and we would walk and we would sing and we would dance.
Love it.
And it would light her up in ways that I didn't know possible. And me too, right? I mean, it was so life-giving for me. And I think it's like even looking at some of the tasks that we're doing or
Mhm.
when we're engaging, what could we add to that in a sensory way that could just elevate that joy and connection even more?
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many cool supports and resources that are coming out that aren't too crazy expensive and things like that we can utilize that we're going to talk about. But I also just like to say too, with how we have to lean into someone was saying, it's yes, all the person centeredness, all that we can learn from them, but also keeping up with their routine and keeping up with being in tune with where they grew up, when they grew up. You are going to be, I'm sure you've seen it, younger people coming in with different types of dementia, and we have different ages, right? So we're really needing to cater to all different ages. And something that I remember, I never thought to stop and think, oh, this person, one of my residents didn't grow up in America. So none of this music makes sense to them.
Right.
None of it. So finally I sat down, we were able to find all the YouTube videos of like his childhood shows from the other country. And it brought so much joy and it was so simple. So it's like taking a step back and just thinking big picture. Does this make sense for these people? Does this make sense for this person? Because we can't be blanketed. And that's all about what person-centered care is.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, because, some people are saying, oh, baby dolls didn't work for anyone. For some people, yes, no, nothing works 100% for everyone, unfortunately. And so that's why we really have to be in tune and see triggers. And remember, some people might be overstimulated, understimulated. There's so many factors here. But it's important to keep trying and not just take one experience as this is it. Okay, this is never going to work because people change through their progression.
Right.
But,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
we had
know. We've
please.
got a lot. Yeah, no, I was just
I'm
gonna
like,
say
ah,
we
so many amazing comments. I want to
Yes,
like talk
yes,
about all of them.
I know. So I'm really quick. There is a conversation with, around family members and
Yeah.
how we interact. And I think we've touched on that, Carrie, and I do have a lot to say about that. I think today, for the sake of time, we're not able to really dive in. But I think it's important that you and I can talk about some of our favorite resources to promote
Yes.
joy. I think that is going to be like really practical. And then if people would like more insight on, how we partner with family to help create those moments, we can certainly share.
Yes.
We
And
can certainly
everyone,
share.
please look through the comments and get all this good wisdom, because everything I'm seeing, I'm like, yes, 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 you guys get it. And I'm loving everything you're saying and totally support it. And I wanted to share one like simple activity, just memory of mine really fast before we share all of our resources. Because Leslie Sweeney is on the call from IN2L, and I still call it IN2L. Sorry, y'all. But we had and everyone can go to this, Google Maps, right? You can go and you can see anywhere in the world. So I was at a community for IN2L for a trip, and this gentleman hadn't been to his hometown in Texas in like 35 years. And so we looked it up and we walked down his street, and like it takes a second to load. And so you're sitting there but they can talk about how they walked down that street. And it was the most beautiful thing watching this man's eyes just well up with tears. And he goes, I can't believe I'm walking down the street again. that guy used to live there. He lived there, loving it. He also wanted me to, and then like we did it again before I left. It was just such a beautiful memory for him. And it became part of the everyday activity that the staff could do with him personally. And it
Yeah.
brought him joy no matter what. It was awesome. And then take them also on vacations they've always wanted to go on, or where they went on their honeymoon, let them walk in front of, big areas, take them to where the Olympics are right now and talk about it. But it was so beautiful. And then it was like the universe wanted me to have another moment. As I was driving away, hours later, I stopped in his town by mistake.
No
And it
way.
was like a town no one
Serendipity.
thought of. And I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that was
Serendipity.
really cool. But
Oh, that's
use that.
incredible.
But so yeah, things don't have to cost money. You can go, you can utilize YouTube, you can utilize these things. But definitely be aware of what's on the TV. The commercials that come up can be triggering. So let's talk about our favorite resources, girl. We have so many cool
I
friends.
know there's
that
so
started-
many. We had to limit it, but we have a list.
Yes, we're gonna send out a list. Let me put it in now. You start talking
Yeah.
about our
Yes,
Zinnia TV.
I know Zinnia. Zinnia was founded by our dear friend Allison Schreier, whose husband was diagnosed really young with FTD, and she needed to have support. And so it is TV that is made for people living with dementia. And there are any topic, encouraging whether it's drinking water or eating food. I mean, so many different modalities for it. And she partnered with and had support with the person that developed Apple Memory. So this is beautiful. You can stream it anywhere, do all the things. They're amazing. We love Zinnia and Bill, who is the CEO. They do really great work and a lot of education. So look for them on social media. They provide support. And I'll let you talk about
Well,
Mama's
Nana's books I wrote, but also like Zinnia TV. There's a baby doll one I've seen in person with people literally going to the TV and like kissing the TV and just so happy. And it's like perfect before bedtime, relaxing.
Yeah.
Love Zinnia TV. Nana's books is literally books made for people living with dementia to reminisce. There's different kinds, and she just came out with a virtual library, so you could put them on the TV and do it as a group. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
And these are all on our list that we're going to share. And Mirador Magazine is a magazine subscription made for people with cognitive loss. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
And it's so beautiful. We've like
It's
held it,
gorgeous.
and the founders are amazing.
Best people.
Utopia experiences, live game shows that have a host that facilitates and are made for people living in your care setting, and the energy and the support and just the whole experience of it. They do such an amazing job.
And the
Yeah.
families can Zoom and watch their loved ones play. So that's another thing that's really cool. I'm sharing a file right now. These are our favorite resources. And Nicole, also someone asked what your favorite podcasts were that you were kind of mentioning. And I know that's actually not on that list. If you
Oh,
put those in the chat if you're able.
yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and I wanted to throw out there, the previous person company I was just working for, Eugeria. So if you check out eugeria.care, or it's .ca for any Canadians on the call, but Eugeria is the one-stop shop for dementia innovations from all over the world. They have incredible things. And I want to share, because we talked about the senses and how important this is. The Hug is a newer product. I really recommend this. We have heartbeat things to comfort babies and puppies. We finally got one for adults, y'all. So this is actually something that mimics the feeling of a hug and has a heartbeat inside, and it's white so you can see dirt and throw it in the wash when needed. So you can find some great things on Eugeria's website. Same with the Relish brand items as well, and Joy for All Pets. And then we wanted to shout out Rendeavor, which is the VR made for senior living. And they are incredible. And so you can actually go and travel if you've ever heard of Rendeavor. And then one thing I just like to put out, because as we talked about Montessori care and people that want to feel included and part of it, we have a lot of people that want to clean, right? And help clean. Viking Pure is actually a company that makes solutions for cleaning that is totally safe for people. So
Yeah.
or I keep saying your loved ones, I'm used to talking to families. So your residents, and we love them too, can clean safely. So that's another really great one.
Yeah, they can participate in it with you. They can, it is safe to touch. There is no risk of ingestion. It is, and they do so much education for senior living. They provide webinars and support around dementia care, and they're an incredible company, Viking Peer Solutions, if you haven't had a chance to connect with them. And Daniel Lawson is the founder, and he is also on LinkedIn. Yeah. And all of these resources, I also want to mention that all of these founders we know,
Yeah.
and they are cheering you on. They are there for you. They love what they do. They have a personal story related to care. They are happy to interact with you, answer questions, give you support and advice. So never think that you can't reach out, because you can.
They're here.
And they want to support you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will answer some of these, but we will send those resources via email. I will figure that out with Charles. The cleaning company is called Viking Pure. Someone did say they got a cranberry stain out and they love Viking Pure, and it's amazing. And this will be taped, so you can watch this again. And oh, so any life station tips for people that are rummagers? Yes, make like a rummage bin or drawer, and anything that they like to take, kind of mimic those types of things if they aren't theirs, and try to get those types of things, put them in one place, and you can eventually try to kind of make it a routine for them to go to that one you're trying to get them to. If you always lead them back and put things back in one area, you can make rummage, areas, rummage drawers. You can also, if people like to go shopping in other people's clothes, or clothes and rooms, put up the racks of clothes that are, donated, and anyone can use them in the hallways, and kind of direct them to go there to take things. That can be really helpful as well. And someone asked about how to get staff involved and understand. I know it's hard. It's so hard. And honestly, you're welcome to reach out to me. I talk to staffs and try to light a fire, you know what I'm saying, and change perspectives a little bit, and show them that, there's other ways to go about things. And so we can talk about that as well. But I know it's really hard. It's a whole team effort, and making sure people feel heard and seen, and the training has to be there. I mean, there's so many layers to it, and I know that you guys are up against a lot. So thank you for all that you do. And thank you for being here. I can't believe how fast it went. We could talk.
I know. We told Charles, we're like, it might be a couple hours.
Yes. And so please reach out to us if you need any support. And we just cannot thank you enough for what you do every day.
Yeah.
You have such a hard job. You are incredible. You literally make people's lives better every day.
Yeah.
So
Never
thank you.
underestimate the impact that your presence and your love brings. So thank you.
We love you. Thank you so much, guys. Be safe. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you so much, Carrie and Nicole. I think that beyond joy, we also lined up amazing education, amazing learning, and amazing energy. So thank you so much for joining. That was awesome. And I agree, we could have gone 3 hours, 2 hours, 4 hours. Anyway, this was great. So everyone, Nicole and Carrie, beyond being very generous of their time and knowledge, they also agreed to share their emails. So please contact them. Like, Carrie does not mean it lightly. She truly means it. If you have questions, please reach out. I'm a big fan of connecting with very positive people as well on LinkedIn. So for the fourth or the fifth time, I'm going to put your LinkedIn in the chat so people can connect.
Yes,
so everyone,
please.
I know the chat gets really busy, so I'm going to maybe do it twice.
No, thank you.
Feel free to connect with both Carrie and Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One last thing is, as a reminder, we have an amazing list of upcoming webinars as well. So on that, what I'm going to do is take us to activitystrong.com and share that with you. Feel free to bookmark that link as we update our webinars, our upcoming webinars all the time. As an example, today we just updated with the next one, which is in October. But I wanted to maybe take a second to talk about one of my favorite events of the year, which is what we call the Decoding Dementia Gathering, which is a gathering 100% focused on dementia. And this year, we're really blessed and honored to be able to partner with somebody by the name of Jennifer Carson, Dr. Jennifer Carson. She does amazing work just simply talking about one of my favorite topics of the year, which is dementia inclusion. So this event, and I'll paste it in the chat again, is again all about this very simple question, which is, if I have dementia, why would you treat me differently, right? And that's the concept of dementia inclusion. So the first session is going to be just building a case about this with somebody quite amazing as well called Kirsten Jacobs. She's spoken on Activity Strong before, but she has a corporate role with Leading Age. There's a break where we're going to be highlighting the work of Dementia Action Alliance, an amazing organization led and done with people living with cognitive change. The second session is all going to be about how we take a next step, which I think is really important, especially if we don't really know what dementia inclusion is about. There's another break. A big fan of Chris Akula, the Virtual Brain Health Center. And then the third one is really going to be great, which is simply what's happening today, right? Give me examples of what we're thinking and doing when it comes to dementia inclusion. So exciting event, not only because it's about dementia care, but also because it's about how we take steps, big, small, we at least take steps towards dementia inclusion. And I want to highlight the fact that we have an amazing happy hour done by somebody amazing called Brian Rife. So if that's not enough, then just send me a note, because I think that's plenty to consider these events.
This is Charles. I just have to say, Dr. Carson is from my alma mater. Her husband was the head of my gerontology school.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
Dr.
I hope you join
Carson
us, Carrie.
is one of the best people. I'm so proud that she's from Nevada. Like I'm obsessed with her. I'm so excited to see this. I will be there.
Great. Thanks you both. Have a great afternoon
Thank you,
morning. And
everyone.
so excited to be with you. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Carrie.